Welcome to the Kelowna Real Estate Podcast with your host, award-winning realtor Matt Glenn, and top-producing mortgage broker Taylor Atkinson. Professionals in the industry, enthusiastic entrepreneurs, and successful investors. When it comes to real estate, we're all in.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show, Matt.
Yeah, I'm having a good time doing this. How about you?
Yeah, it's been a blast. Today was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had Taylor on. Not me, Taylor. Yeah, Taylor Musseau. She's partner and EVP of sales and marketing for MLA Okanagan. Yeah, she's been around, born and raised in Kelowna, been doing this for 15 years. Basically started when, 2008, last economic kind of issue was going on. So nothing is new to her right now.
Yeah, she's doing it all. Pre-sales. She has been involved in the resale market in the past. She's super clicked into Kelowna. She knows what's going on.
Yeah. And she's been out to Toronto. She now works in Calgary, Vancouver as well. Like she's all over the place. Yeah. Really tied in with some big player developers. She basically takes it start to finish, like gives them a concept, works with them on square footage, bedrooms, just the amenity layout. So she's really shaping a lot of these projects in the Okanagan.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, and that's a pretty cool position to be in. So today we run through some short-term rental stuff because there are developments that are going on that now have short-term rental issues.
Yeah.
And we just talk about the market in general and some investing. And yeah, love her. She was great to have on.
It was a fun episode. Yeah. It was also, we all got to gripe a bit about the new rules and what we think should happen, solving all the world's problems here.
Yeah. Give her a follow on social media. She's been pretty vocal right now and has some good content and educational stuff.
Yesterday, she was keeping the people updated on what was happening in the city council meeting. Yeah, she's definitely worth a follow.
Yeah. And just a great name too. So enjoy the episode, guys.
Second best name there is. All right. Welcome to the show, Taylor.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a big time guest for us. So thank you.
I appreciate being here. I'm excited.
Yeah. So you're really involved in the development community and all the new projects coming up. I know you have a few. Big news lately is the short-term rental restrictions coming in the province.
Yeah. So we're recording this right after city council meeting, which was yesterday, the 23rd. Obviously, live stream. A lot of us tuned in on that. I think the next proposed meeting, which is a public hearing, is on the 21st of November.
Let's start, Taylor. Why don't you run us through your perfect Friday? Like, what do you do?
Oh, man. Do I have to leave the house? Like, it's cold outside.
No, not at all.
Shit, breakfast.
I think you're probably leaving the city at least maybe you in the province. Yeah.
Perfect Friday. I'm a swimmer, so I swim Friday mornings most of the time. Start off the day in the water. It's always the most pleasant part of my day.
At the H2O?
Yeah.
Do you do the 50 meter?
I hate the 50 meter. I'm a sprinter. So the 50 meter, I'm like, 50 meters has never felt so long. Yeah. But yeah, I do swim that.
Awesome.
I'm usually there 5 or 6 days a week.
So wait, when you sprint, do you just like sprint, take a 5-minute break and then do it again?
No, like our work to rest ratios are surprising. Like you'll work for 35, 40 seconds, rest for 10 and again.
Okay.
Like repeats like that. So, but it depends what you're training for.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun though. I'm on the swim team. I've got a coach, been doing it a long time. So.
That's awesome. Sorry to totally steal the show here.
I love it.
My 6-month-old son's first swimming lessons at H2O tomorrow morning.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Please tell me that poor child is not in this 50 meter pool. Like it looks like it's the other side of the ocean. He stand on the side of the deck. I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah,
it's
no.
so far.
Yeah. I guess I'm not right in the curriculum here, so I have no idea what's going on. I think I got to sing some songs, but yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's great. I might be joining your son's class tomorrow. So after that, when I'm done my swim lessons with your son, no, on Fridays, I do typically do a little bit of office stuff in the morning. Our head office staff doesn't work on the weekend, must be nice. And I do. So anything that I need to get out of the way with like head office in Vancouver or any of your team members there, try and get that out of the way early in the day. Then usually lots of client meetings, social, like, coffees, lunch, dinners on Fridays. Try to get in the gym at some point if I can. Depends how boozy the lunch was. But perfect Friday for me is kind of consistency like that. Like I'm pretty boring in that sense.
Yeah. Sounds boring.
Yeah, it is. It's like not that exciting, but it can be in any city. Sometimes I'm in Vancouver. Sometimes I'm here. Sometimes Calgary. I work primarily in those 3 geos. So
yeah. And so when you say head office, are we referring to MLA or Century 21?
MLA.
Okay.
So my license is still at Century 21. I was a realtor with Century 21 for, I guess my license has been there 15 years. but I'm the owner-operator of MLA Okanagan. We're finally a licensed brokerage now. It took a while to get that paperwork through, but my license is still currently hung with Century 21. MLA, our head office, is in Vancouver, and then we have a second location owned and operated by Brittany Reimer in Fraser Valley, and then I run the Okanagan division. But I leverage a lot of the staff out of head office, so I'm back and forth to Vancouver quite often.
Yeah.
Good for you. I didn't realize that. That's good for you.
Yeah.
And you're local, born, raised, Kelowna.
Local, yeah. So
been doing this for 15 years.
I switched more into development probably 7 or 8 years ago, and then been working with MLA for about 2.5 years, and started the own brokerage here about a year and a little while ago, 1.5 years ago, I'd say.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
What does MLA stand for?
McNeil, Lalonde and Associates.
Okay.
That tripped me up too, because I went all MLA, everyone thinks political. And no, McNeil, Lalonde and Associates. So Ryan Lalonde, Cameron McNeil, the original partners, the founders of the company.
Yep.
Background of Boulevard and Mac Marketing. They joined together to make MLA, and yeah, it's fun. We just work with developers. We're a licensed brokerage, just like a Remax or Royal LePage, anything else, but all we do is work with developers.
Okay, cool.
Very cool.
Well, let's talk about developments then.
So fun.
Specific to the Kelowna region. People listening to the show are obviously mostly investors or trying to get into the market. What are the benefits of buying into pre-construction development? What to look for in terms of like what developer to work with? Yeah. Can you walk us through that process?
For sure. It's interesting because when I worked in Toronto doing development, that's really the only way investors invested. You can't cash flow in that market.
Yeah.
So they're really banking on purchasing, a pre-construction, having it take 5, 6, 7 years to build and looking at the equity growth. We haven't seen a ton of that in the Okanagan yet. There hasn't been a huge demand of development, or not necessarily demand, but there hasn't been, tower after tower every year, like the larger city centers. That's definitely shifting. We're obviously in a housing crisis here. We need more homes. So development and higher density is coming in a big way. And you can already see that with the towers now. So I think it's a really great opportunity to invest, right? Number one is deposit. Put your deposit down now, and it's typically stretched out. So you're maybe putting 5 or 10% down now, another 5% in 3 or 4 months, and then your final 5% could be 6, 8 months down the road. So for an investor, that frees up some capital in the short term to do other investing. And for a first-time buyer or a younger buyer who doesn't necessarily have that full deposit up front, it gives them more time. Yeah. So that's a huge benefit of pre-construction that you don't have the opportunity to do in resale. And then the other is just the equity growth. If you're, paying on paper today, say $500,000 for your pre-construction condo, and it's not built for 2 years, well, the market in the Okanagan, yes, of course, it ebbs and flows, but overall, we've had, growth in prices when you look at the long term. So typically that property is worth more by the time you close. So when you go to close, it may be worth $600,000, but you're still paying just $500K. So you instantly have $100,000 of equity and haven't had to pay a mortgage, haven't had to pay strata fees, nothing. It's like a high interest savings account. It's a really great way to invest looking on the longer term as well.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like in today's market where rates are higher. Totally. It is kind of a nice thing to hedge if you're buying in pre-construction that's not complete for say 3 years. Yeah. You can kind of hope that rates come down and then it's more affordable at that stage.
Definitely.
So it is a good vehicle to invest in.
For sure. We've seen a lot more people thinking about it that way too, as rates have gone up and up and up. It's like, well, they want to get in because they realize that the prices today are slightly depressed from what they have been, but the interest rates are really high, so they don't want to close today. So that's kind of giving you best of both worlds. You get to pay today's pricing, but you hopefully bank on the interest rates being lower when you actually close.
Yeah. And how do you guys price it generally? Like, obviously this is a vague question, but are you pricing it on today's market? Obviously the developer doesn't want to sell everything now, or do they hold some back and then sell some in the future? But essentially if it doesn't close for 3 years and it's, indicated to appreciate 5% a year or something, like the developer has to margin some of that profit in there. For sure. So are you buying like a little bit inflated prices now and then hope that in 3 years you've, like you said, gained equity in it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think that's dependent on the developer. So it depends what their construction financing looks like is a big part of it. Usually we're working towards a construction financing goal of a certain amount of the overall project. So let's say it's a $100 million build out. Typically they need to hit anywhere between 65 and 75% of the construction loan value in sales before they get that loan. So while there may be a little bit of an increase passed on to the buyer at that time, they're motivated to get to that 75%. Otherwise the project doesn't go.
Yeah.
So what they'll often do, and we just did this with Nolita, is we price it very much at today's pricing. We're blended out at about $840 a square foot for wood frame, which is pretty competitive to what you're seeing in the neighborhood. It might be slightly higher, not by much. We started at $780 a square foot. We started going up a little bit as we went. As soon as we hit 75%, we jacked everything up to $900 a square foot because it's like we don't actually need the sales now. We have construction financing. The building's a go. It's under construction. So now the developer will just hold the remaining 25% of the inventory or 20% of the inventory that we have until closer to completion. It's usually the bigger homes that end up going to completion, townhomes, anything that's going to be an owner occupied is more likely to kind of sit until completion. If you think those buyers, if they're downsizing, they often want to walk through, as you would know, Matt, from showing buyers around. Investors can see things on paper, whereas an owner occupier maybe has more trouble with it. So oftentimes the inventory that we hold back or that doesn't sell up front and ends up selling later on is typically an end user driven product. Right. But again, the pricing is usually fairly similar to what we are today on the resale market. The strategy on how we price and how we sell is all to do with the construction financing for the developer.
So you're best to get in before you hit that 65, 75%
Definitely.
sale to gain that margin for an investor.
Insider knowledge.
Insider knowledge, yeah. And we do release it kind of differently. It's such a different way. And I come from a resale background. It's such a different way of selling. Selling, you want to, get all the pictures, get the realtor tour going, everything on MLS. It kind of all happens at once. In pre-construction, it really is different tranches. Like we'll sell, and people are going to get mad at me for this, we'll sell 30% of the building before you even know that there's a building there.
I'm getting mad at you. Yes, that has happened to me.
Yeah.
God, it pisses me off.
Yeah, I know.
What? That is so unfair.
Yeah.
You didn't meet more people and get in there.
I know. So we've done that recently. And now I'm one of those people. I'm like, okay.
Because now you're benefiting on it. Right?
Yeah, I know. But God, it is.
This whole podcast has been a leverage thing for
100%.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, specifically, I'll name drop on it. Like Aqua.
Yeah.
No one could even touch that on phase one.
I got a unit.
I'm furious.
No, it's so true. You have to know people. You have to get in early. And it is different in resale in that way.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to keep urgency up, but we need that volume of sales to get to the construction.
Yeah.
And that's, so Emily got a ton of sales out of Socana, and then so you're in with Epic, and then you get that priority. So I guess working with the right person obviously gets you that.
Big time.
Well, shift a little bit. Speaking about Aqua, it's still with short-term rental stuff. Phase one is obviously falls in that category. Yeah. What's kind of the temperature with developers? Like, obviously we have some massive developers, Kirchhoff, Mission Group, Cressy. All three of those I've named have projects that are falling within those short-term rental permits. Are they just furious about this? They obviously have legal talking to the city and stuff, not to disclose too much, but you have your finger on the pulse.
Oh man, my finger is on the pulse and I am fuming.
The pulse is going.
The pulse is going. I'm flying, sweating over here.
Yeah.
No, I'm on both sides, right? Because I'm working with these developers and I'm a purchaser as well. So I empathize with both sides and I can really see it from such two different lenses. The developers are not happy, that's for sure. They are doing everything they can, both at municipal level and provincial level, to push back on this. So, Mission Group, Cressy, we're all doing it. I'm sure Kirchhoff is as well. Number one, they are doing everything that they can. It's tricky because, and I'm sure it's been kind of touched on already, we can work really hard as a city and as a community to pass these exemptions. And there's a list of 15 or so buildings, including Cabana and Aqua, that would fall in that exemptions list. And so, the council meeting yesterday, I know we all watched it, feels like council's in favor of keeping those buildings as short-term rental friendly. Yep. I do want to go to public hearing and hear from the city. I'm sure I have some choice words that I'll try and become more eloquent with between now and then.
Get it on the gram.
We'll get it on the gram. My head office is going to be losing it. I can already feel it. I'm I'm the bad duck. I don't know. That big
get shit done duck.
Every time I tell them I do stuff like this after, because I'd have a long talk before if they knew what to say. So we are all pushing for it. I am hopeful that we will get those buildings exempt on coming out of this at a local level. The trouble is the province supersedes, right? Yeah. So we can go through all this work and we should. And I think as a community, we should speak up and step up, and the developers are, but the province will supersede it. And if they come down with harsher restrictions, we're stuck with that.
Yeah, I know our sales meeting this morning at the office was, everyone's all fired up going to the meeting, but how much can you do? I guess you can try and get some, push, try and get the city involved.
Definitely getting the city involved, helping the city. I think what matters now, some people do feel like that. That's a good point, is I had people reaching out to me on so many different, it's very emotional, right? People reaching out to me what are you doing? What is Cressy doing? And also people we should ban this, everything that you can imagine. I've heard it. I've had everybody yelling at me for everything this week. What we can do and what's important, and some feedback was well, Tay, what do we do? I'm a small fish in the big sea. It doesn't matter. I'm well, it does. If we can do a good job at having our leadership in the city understand our frustrations, our fears, what we're feeling, why we think that this is a benefit to keep in the city. And it has to be from a different lens of just, well, I'm an investor, I paid all this money and I'm losing money. Like, it needs to be like, why is this benefit for the city? And if we can do a good job at really communicating that, then they can advocate for us at a provincial level. And I'm fortunate to be working with developers who have a big pull and a big push, and my company does as well too. And so we can be that slightly bigger voice as well too, saying like, okay, hey, we hear you. We're understanding your fears, your frustrations, and like, let us go to battle for you and take that to the province and use our platforms to do that. So I think it is important for us to do a good job at communicating to the city of why we need these short-term rentals.
Yeah.
And what can we do to like solve the problem outside of it, right?
That's my biggest beef with it, is like they're trying to penalize certain class of people, whether that's like small time investors or developers. Like, why would you want to scare off like great development companies that have done so much to mold this city? But instead of penalizing, why not like generate more positive reaction with providing like, let's change the Tenancy Act a little bit. Like, why are we taking half months rent for security deposit? Why don't we do full month? Like incentivize people to do long-term rentals to provide that to gain more traction in the housing crisis.
Well, it seems like we live in a city that explodes during the summer and we're turning into like a college town in the off season.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like a perfect blend where we could figure out something.
Oh, it's great. There's got to be a happy medium.
There's got to be something to figure out where you have students, like especially with downtown campus coming in, you have students from September till May or whatever, and then you have short-term rentals in the summer.
Yeah.
It feels to me like there's an opportunity there, but nobody wants to do it because the RTA is just you can't get a tenant out. Yeah. And then you don't know about the short-term rentals. It just feels like it's kind of fighting like against the wind of it.
I mean, it was low-hanging fruit for the provincial government, right? Like, that's what
I said with Ryan.
Yeah.
Right. It's like they have to do something. There's a housing shortage. Airbnbs and short-term rentals are in the news all the time. Mm-hmm. It's low-hanging fruit. Like, let's just go after that one.
So I guess in terms of like, the ins and outs of, I guess, the profit margin of most developments, what you guys sell for, we can assume it's fairly small considering the risk they're taking.
I'd love to hear what you think. Just guess what you think a profit margin is.
Saying like 7 to 11%.
What do you think?
Probably on the low end, like 5, and the high end, 20.
Yeah. So we used to.
God, that's a big range. I want to change mine. Okay, mine's 0 to 100.
Yeah. Well, when the market is going up, I was factoring in the market appreciation. Now there probably isn't that. It would be going the other way, but that's what I was factoring in.
Okay.
So when we're running our pro formas, like we used to be happy with like a 10 to 15% return. And if we're running it, looking at the land, are we going to buy this? Are we going to do it? Like we were like, okay, that feels like they're safe. There's some wiggle room there. But with the way things have gone, like DCC charges have, I don't know, tripled.
Yeah. His head just exploded.
Oh my God. I know all my clients are currently calling me straight.
Wait, which one? Both of them are heads.
Yeah, both your heads.
Yeah.
It's really confusing with two channels on the show.
It is. Like there's so much that's changed that we can't control. The cost of materials, the availability. Like the interest rates affect the developers too, right? Like let's not forget.
Worse because they're paying a little higher.
Student loan.
Yeah.
Like our borrowing costs are like $5 to $7 million more than it was, right? Yeah. So like it's crazy. So now we're performing it out. We're like, unless it's 15 to 20, we're not taking the risk. And at the end of the day, we're probably landing around that 7%, maybe.
Okay, we're both right. We're both in the range. Yeah. So like
that's a lot. If you think about it, that's like on a life cycle for a development, and we're with them right from when they get the land all the way to the buyers get the keys. Like that's 6 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot, if you're going through rezoning and all that, it could be longer. It's like 6 years.
And not guaranteed.
That's a huge risk.
So it's a small margin. Like throw it in a GIC and then the developer can retire. But they do it because they're like passionate and they want to be.
Yeah, the developer's one guy.
And very, very rarely is.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're talking about a company here.
We're raising capital. We're raising 250, 300K at a time. Like even the big guys like Kirchhoff, I know the gentleman that raises capital for him, like they're bringing in small amounts. There's tons of people involved. So it's, I hate defensive. I do get defensive when it's this public perception of big greedy developers making so much money. It's like you have no idea how hard it is on behind the scenes, all the risk that they're taking on, all the upfront cost too, right? Like we're putting out 70, 80 million, like a Caban, there's 70 million going before we get anything back. Like it's a big risk.
Well, I guess, so my point to the original question was like, we can assume, and you can fill us in on this, like there must be a little bit more of a margin when you're appealing to a short-term rental market. Like if I'm going to do phase 1 in Aqua as a consumer, I'm going to spend more money having the ability to run it as a short-term rental because you can recoup your costs a little bit more.
Totally.
So now that they're taking that away, like that's obviously negative impact to the developer, but are some developers just saying like, listen, the margin's so small already. If they start to drop the hammer on these kind of regulations that limit us from making money, like we just can't do it anymore. And then that adds to this whole housing crisis. Like if they're not investing, who's going to build?
No, that's just it. And that is a big factor of it. We don't have a lot of land left in the city in Kelowna anyways that will allow for short-term rental, assuming like there are kind of existing, let's call it exemptions and zoning bylaws that we have. But even tertiary markets like Penticton, we're seeing a lot of development there. So Canada's a great example. There's no way they would have hit the price per square foot they did if there weren't short-term rentals. So like that is a big part. And like the construction cost for them is the same. So if they're saying, and I'm thinking on the development side, okay, if we can make a little bit extra here, we can afford to develop back in Kelowna or wherever, it all evens out. But the margins are a lot slimmer when there isn't short-term rental. It's higher risk. And we are paying as a consumer, and I personally, and anybody else who bought in Cabana and Aqua, you know that you're paying a premium to have that flexibility of ownership. Yeah. And that's okay. Like I paid $500,000 for a studio. It would have been $420,000 if it wasn't Airbnb friendly. So like now all of a sudden my numbers don't even come close to working. Yep. And it's not like, and now I can just return that to the long-term housing stock. Like my carrying costs are $3,000 a month. Nobody's paying $3,000 for a studio. Yeah. It's like, that's not solving the problem.
I mean, yeah. Ryan Smith came on a couple episodes ago and he did say like, well, it's still a revenue stream to have long-term rental, but it's not. Even on a short-term rental market, like you're still not making as much as the media is making it up to be. No. But that's not addressing the issue of like housing affordability. You did say, like land is not, like it's kind of scarce in Kelowna. Mm-hmm. And Matt, you've talked about this before. Like what about ALR land? Obviously we don't want to touch that too much, but like there is a lot of vacant land. So if they can just come down and say, okay, no more Airbnbs, can they at least come down and say, well, we have some vacant land. Like let's
like where's the push pull, right? Like how do we both give a little bit? There's got to be somewhere that they can give as well. Yeah. Well, like some of that land just doesn't make sense to be sitting there.
Like I was showing units in Inview, like across the road from that land, and it's insane to me. There's been I've lived in Kelowna. Well, I've lived in Okanagan my whole life. There's never been anything there. Yeah, we have a housing crisis. We're doing things like banning Airbnbs to solve it. Yet that is just sitting there attracting geese. Yeah, it's amazing.
Don't take away from the geese. Like, they need a place too.
Yeah, they got all the things they can
in the middle of the condo building.
They're moving out to McKinley. Yeah.
These are welcome out in McKinley.
Yeah.
It just feels like there's an obvious supply and demand issue. There's way more. We're the fastest growing city in Canada, or one of. We're not building enough houses, and it feels like we're just hammering on the developer and not opening up obvious land like this goddamn parcel of land on Springfield. Yeah.
Totally. It's just, it's got to be a happy medium when I think about it on the development side. Like I said, DCC fees have gone through the roof. And if they're complaining about licensing with Airbnbs, okay, like increase the licensing fee and do a better job at actually enforcing that. Yeah. And, you're earning taxes from Airbnb. Like, why don't you use some of that income to support the housing issue, right? Like,
I'm going to put my hand up here. Yes. I think they net $700,000 last year in their
towards any kind of housing initiative.
Totally. Or like build an Airbnb app specific to Kelowna. Okay. I'm not a developer. I hardly can run a podcast, but would it be that hard? And they just become like their new platform for the Okanagan only, and you have to book. And then cause we pay a lot of fees on Airbnb. Totally. As the owner, we've seen a depreciation on our asset just purely because the rates have gone up so much on Airbnb. Yeah. If Kelowna took that over, that'd be a massive revenue stream. They could get rid of those geese. Serious.
I don't have a problem with the geese, man.
Or to rehouse the geese. It's going to turn into how do we rehome the geese?
Like those geese, yeah.
No, I think there's ways to get creative that maybe just haven't been thought of yet that addresses some multiple issues.
I think creativity does need to be brought to the table here because it just is obviously the answer. Doing these blanket things, just irritate people. It doesn't seem to solve the problem.
And I think that would really help if the community is obviously heated right now, myself included, but it's okay, why don't we think of other solutions and let's talk with council about that and propose other ideas and not just bang on their door and be like, we don't want this. It's let's get creative and think about other ways to support it so that when they go to bat for us at the province, they have a little bit of armor, right? They got a little bit of ammo in the tank.
Yeah. So should our listener be going to this on the 21st of November? And do you have to sign up? Do you just kind of walk in?
I'm pretty sure you can just go. I think it sounds like they're going to try and do at least one educational session ahead of that. So I would just stay tuned to, what the city's planning on that. But I believe you can just go and have an opportunity to speak. And my recommendation, like I said, is just be thoughtful about it, right? Just complaining isn't going to do anything. So whatever you're complaining about, whether it's pro or con for this, come up with a solution, come up with an idea. Let's try and solve the problem.
Speaking to, I guess, smaller developers, are you still seeing a lot of land play developments in terms of like tearing down 5 single family houses and putting up duplexes or fourplexes.
Yeah, that's kind of where I started in development, was doing some of the smaller stuff, the fourplexes and things like that. What I do like that the city has done a good job of, and I think they're trying to get even more creative of it, and you would know, is like whether it was the big fourplex push, right? The RU7s, you could do 4 units if it was over 50 feet. And now the city's even getting more creative. Like we're seeing some 5s, and I've got a 9 unit going on Coronations. Like they're getting more creative on how to add additional density to those city center and to those old lots where you have one existing home on it. And you are seeing a lot more of that now.
You are. That's great. Honestly, almost all the requests I ask the city are immediate yeses.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? Like, I wonder what the lag is for this housing crisis, because they kind of came out with that, a year ago? When was the OCP released? Like a year and a half ago?
Just before the election. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're only seeing, like, those products aren't even probably being finished yet to add to the housing supply. Mm-hmm. So, like, I don't know, should we just kind of sit back and that naturally come, or you just keep...
We're still so short. We're short like 3,500 units a year for the next 8 years, even just to meet current demand.
Like, is that just not the new norm now?
It feels
like sort of sit back and be like, like wash my hands clean of this. But I feel like everywhere across Canada, we're short. We're in this inflation market. Like everything's just kind of become, well, this is generally what it is. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not saying give up on it, but maybe we should like re-index the...
Well, I think you have to start building more homes.
Yeah.
You need to build. There has to be at least something going on.
And it's going to be density, right?
Yeah,
like, this is what I keep
talking
about, is you're not going to see a new single family home subdivision approved anytime soon. Like it's going to be density and how do we get creative to do density?
Yeah.
And, you know, people in Kelowna, it's tricky because it's been a 6-story city forever, right? All you see is these 6-story wood frames. And it's like getting people's appetite, like accustomed to like, we need more density and like how that's great for the community and creating different pockets in the city. Then you always hear like, well, how is that going to work with infrastructure? And it's all those other factors. But we do at the end of the day need density.
Yeah.
Like the city's growing up. We're adults now. We're putting our big boy pants on. Like we're going there.
You know, like
we're growing up.
I think we were talking to somebody about this. Is like the city's growing anyway, so you might as well plan for it.
Yeah.
Right. You might make it the way you want it instead of just making it the way it's going to happen.
Totally.
Right. So like I totally agree with that. And yeah, the way Kelowna is like the flatlands and then the hills.
Yeah.
Just way harder to densify on the hill. Right. So it's obviously going to come on the flatland, and density is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So taller and more units per lot.
So is it like, as an investor, you are an investor, a lot of our listeners are, like, is it still profitable to do land assemblies for smaller developers, or even like group of like say Matt and I wanted to buy, you know, a bit? Is that still profitable, or is it? Yeah,
it is. I think it's different now. Your performance look a little different than they did a few years ago. I think there still is profit there. A lot of times, and Matt's going to be like, what? Why are you saying this? It's buying land privately. That's a big part of it. I think a lot of time it gets listed in these like residential realtors. And I feel like I can say this because I am a residential realtor at heart. They don't know how to price that land because they don't understand how the developer's mind works on running numbers. And so you'll see a lot of these lots where you're like, it doesn't make sense that that's $3 million. And it actually doesn't. But there are a lot of great land deals privately or through, you know, commercial brokers, and they're still happening all the time. So I think it's buying your land smart is number one.
Sorry, how do you do that then? Like, what's the private look like?
We go door to door. Like we assembled 17 lots in a row on Clement during COVID and literally went door to door and had coffee with the little old lady in 808. And
then you brought that to a developer?
My developers, and like they did that themselves. So a lot of developers will do it themselves, whether they have like somebody within their team who that's their job. But even if you're a small investor, like that's the way to do it. And we've got a really good tool with the city, like the GIS mapping system. You can see what the zoning is. You can see how big the lots are. So it does help you at least target like, okay, I need X footage, you know, frontage and depth. Now I can narrow that down on the map and know where to go and know where to target. And then it's just like, it's grunt work. It's going back to the old school door knocking days and pulling title and trying to find these people and figuring it out. And it's a little more work, but it's really oftentimes the only way that we can make the numbers work. And I can't think of a time. We just assembled another 5 on Coronation. That was all private too. Like I can't think of a time that we have recently bought anything that was publicly listed.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah, you're right. Matt's pissed right now.
Yeah, my favorite kind of listings, land assemblies.
Yeah.
They're great. If you want them to sit forever, because a lot of people don't know how to price them. Not saying that you don't know how to price them.
Honestly, yeah, it's situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to keep going with the investor side of it, would single family houses then not start to see an increase? Like if we're just focused on infill densification, like would the value not go up in single family houses because we aren't building them? So if let's just say like an investor's trying to buy right now, they're scared of Airbnb because legislation, pre-construction's an option. Single family house maybe is an option. Like obviously you're not going to rent it. I guess what would you recommend if you were coaching some clients to get into the market and buy more property?
Yeah, I think it's all about budget you have to spend and like where with what you have to spend is the smartest and what makes the most sense. But definitely single family is going to continue to grow here and to, appreciate. Depends on the neighborhood too as well. So I think there's a lot of factors and it's not as simple as, well, you're investing in Kelowna, you have to buy this. I think it depends on a number of different things. How long are you investing? Are you looking for a long-term or a short-term investment? Is it something you're going to be using yourself? Is it going to be a rental? What's your, comfort level with carrying costs and what can you afford? There's a whole bunch of different things to factor, as you guys would both know too.
Yep.
But I do think like if you have a single family home in Kelowna, you're probably going to be in good shape. And proof is in the pudding, right? If you bought, I think my first house I bought was on Ritchie Court. I think I paid $350. Glenmore, which is a great neighborhood, $350, and it had a 2-bedroom basement suite. Oh. That home sold for $1 million last year. Like it's a 1990s, like peach pink 1990s house, like $1 million. You kidding me? So like it's going to continue to go that way with single family.
Yeah.
But is it like knowing that, okay, it's $1 million today, like where's the ceiling? Where is that going to go from there? What do you have to put in? So all of those factors I think about when I'm thinking about investing.
And holding it right now. Like I think right now it's expensive to hold a property with interest rates and the rents are just it's hard to cash flow.
Totally.
That's sweet. You're not getting close. Like you can probably get close, but you're not cash flowing.
Yeah.
But if you can get to the other side of this, I think there's a serious opportunity.
I think so too. I think we're in for a bit of a shitty, bumpy ride for 12 to 14 months here, and then we're going to be cruisy. I really do believe that. I don't think it's going to be bad forever. Yeah. I've worked in markets all across Canada. I worked in Toronto, Vancouver, all of it. And Kelowna has this weird little bubble effect where it can be a total shitstorm in some of the other markets and we'll feel those turbulence, but not often to the same, high or the same low as some of the other markets. Like we are somewhat insulated here.
Yeah.
And we have been, and while we'll see the cyclical, the ups and downs, it doesn't seem to feel as dramatic or be as dramatic as some of the other markets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always kind of said we're like the last into the recession, first out.
Yeah.
A lot of lazy people with a bit of money live in Kelowna, and that's fine.
Good old
spot to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. Like we're the fastest growing city in Canada for a reason.
Yeah.
People want to live here, right? So I just feel like if you can get through it, you're not going to be in a bad position.
I think so too. I did a speaking event, the Western Canadian Real Estate Conference a few weeks ago, and Tamara Stone was there, and she told this great story, but she had said at the end of it, just like, hang on, hang in there, hang tight, just hunker down, right? Like just hang in there. And you see that a lot with different types of investments where it's like people, as soon as it starts to get a bit rocky, they bail.
Yeah.
It's like, you just got to hang in, like hunker down, hang in there.
Yeah.
I think people do know that because we don't have, with this environment, you expect to see a lot of listings and there's some, but it's not a glut, right? It's not crazy.
It's like, where do you go, right? And if you're selling your house and you can't port your mortgage, where are you going to go? And now all of a sudden you're going from 3% to 7%.
Yeah.
I just remortgaged one of my rental properties and I was at 189 and now I'm at 705. So that was not a good day to talk to me.
So are you keeping that property?
Yeah, I have some equity in it, but I am going to keep it for now.
See, this is also a drum I've been beating because everyone's like, well, when this happens, everyone's going to put their house on the market. I just don't think that's the case because if you have a 1.89 interest rate, you probably have 30% equity from when you got that.
Yeah.
From when you got that mortgage. So you're just not underwater.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you might be getting hosed on the monthly payment. So some people will sell, but it's not going to be a race. It just isn't.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to make it oversimplified, okay, we're in an inflation, or they were scared of a recession, so you cut rates, so that caused an inflation. So your house just obviously appreciates, and then to counter the inflation, they increase rates, and your expenses go up. It's just that ebb and flow. So no one was talking about this in the media so much when rates were sub 2%, being like, oh yeah, we're making money. Life is so great. Everyone just kind of thought that was the norm.
Yeah.
And now that things are a little bit more difficult, everyone's talking about it. And it's it's a frustration, which it should be. But let's not forget, people just made hundreds of thousands of dollars on appreciation and rent roll. And everyone was good. So
in 2 years.
Yeah.
There wasn't a 20-year game. Didn't take a long time to make that much money.
No, that's so true.
And now it's come down 5-10%. It's okay, but it just went up 40.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that we're in that situation.
And I don't think that this is going to be a long 5-year crisis. And maybe part of the reason why I'm bullish on that is I'm still seeing our big investors, they're still buying land, they're still going on their buildings, we're still moving forward on everything. And maybe we'll get to the point where we have all the assets done, all the work ready to go to sale, and we just say, hey, we're going to pause and not sell today. But that's not hey, we're not selling at all. It's we're going to get everything ready. That we're going to spend all the money to get it ready for sale. And then we'll just press play when we think it's a good spot. It's nobody's trying to ditch their land. Nobody's bailing on the projects that we're working with anyways. And they're still they're still seeing at the end of the tunnel, that there still is opportunity here. And whether some of them have changed into rental, a couple of them, but it's still investing in the market and still, wanting to push forward with these projects.
Did the GST thing, did that push anyone into a rental?
Yeah. So we had 3 buildings. I probably had about 1,000 units under contract that we'd started working on floor plans, unit mix, design, all of that. And we'd gotten 4 or 5 months into the cycle with that. Quite a lot of work goes into it before you guys ever see like a rendering or an ad. It's about 10 to 12 months of work. And we were about 4 or 5 months in with 3 different buildings. And the part of the GST, some of the city incentives, a number of different things, the developers decided to switch and go to rental. It just made way more sense. And I think that was at the time where the interest rates were the most volatile too. And so it was like, we don't know how long the volatility is going to last. We're going to be ready to sell in 3 months, 4 months. It's probably not going to be a great time. Like maybe we'll switch to rental. There's a lot of incentives to do so. So that did push some into rental for sure.
And you still work on that project because you're not doing sale. Like we're talking purpose-built rental.
We can. So we can do lease up. We haven't done any in the city yet, but we can. We do lots of it in Vancouver and in the Lower Mainland. So we definitely can support the developers in that.
And generally, how does that look like when a developer wants to exit, they sell to an institutional investor that wants to hold it?
It could be. So it depends. We have some development partners that will hold the building. They'll rent it out, lease it out, hold it for a period of time, and then either sell to like a REIT. Some of them just hang on to it and they're just portfolio investors. They'll keep it.
Yeah.
So it depends. But, they can use it just like, think of it like a regular rental. If you have it and there's a bunch of equity in it, you can pull equity and they can use that to fund other projects.
Yeah.
So it's just like a small rental, just on a bigger scale. So it depends what their goals as a development company are. For sure. But we do have a bunch that will do, like they have a decent rental portfolio that they just hang on to.
And are now, like, obviously developers are much more sophisticated than Matt and I.
Well, but I don't know. I would argue that. I might argue.
But like thinking of Warren Buffett, fearful, greedy, etc. Like, are developers not just buying up everything they can because they know that everyone's like there's scarcity right now? Like,
yeah,
you've seen that
for sure. Some of them are.
Okay,
definitely.
Okay, so I need to buy more.
Yeah. And it depends
Honestly,
on how
I agree.
Depends on how well capitalized they are, but a lot of them are looking for opportunity right now, for sure.
And then they just, like you said, do all the due diligence and then sit on it and wait to pull the trigger when the market supports it.
Yeah. And in Vancouver, like, we complain about the city here sometimes on how long it takes to push things through, but like honestly, it's so fast here.
Yeah.
In Vancouver, some of our guys, like we work with Strand, I think they were 3.5 years to go through a rezone on a site. So imagine like you buy this property, 3.5 years, and then you have 12 months of doing all your work. Like you're 4 years before you sell a unit. Like how much has the market changed and how do you plan for that? Right? How do you like try and crystal ball what the market will need or what you're going to do? So at least here, we're within a couple of months, like 6 months at the longest, you'll be able to turn something around.
Yeah.
So the life cycle is a little shorter. So they are looking at that here, being like, okay, if I can pick this up, go through the rezone through the next 6 months that are kind of probably going to be still shitty, and then start building out. And by the time that the market turns around, like they'll actually be ready to go. So they are doing that now.
It's kind of amazing for a developer to even buy that and not know. You wait 3.5 years and then you get denied. Happens when you get denied.
I was with them when they got that project approved. We were at Phantom Creek for a client appreciation dinner. Yeah. And I was with them in like the stress level to like the absolute like excitement.
Yeah.
You wait for so long, you push so hard, and to get that through after that long. And you're just sitting holding that land, paying for it, right? Like So that's
so it gets approved, then immediately later it's like no short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think wasn't in the room when that happened. So I was just there high.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like we were saying earlier, like developers get a really bad rap, but like you have no idea what you're getting into. Like you were fighting battles you don't even know or exist before you get in there. Right?
Yeah. What's the city? It's just north of Victoria. Langford?
Yeah, we're doing stuff there.
Are you?
Booming.
So like that mayor, I heard him in a podcast maybe a year ago. I think they may have changed council recently, but like they basically said anything that gets on our desk, we want to have an answer like within the week and we want to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Like how can they operate like that, but every other city can't? Like Kelowna does a great job, but yeah, we look at Vancouver. I mean, their DCC fees are going up to like 240% by 2027. But like, how can Langford do it? Obviously, it's a smaller population, but do we just need to hire more people? Like Ryan was talking a little bit about AI, but like if that's the key to helping developers and helping this housing issue.
Vote. Remember
Steve Johnson?
Steve Johnson was like 17% turnout.
Yeah.
Like, come on. That's
city of West Kelowna.
Yeah, that is not going to work.
Okay, so we get out and vote.
Yeah.
What are we voting for though? Like there needs to be, hey, we're going to hire this many people and we're going to expedite all these processes. But like, it's easier than said than done. But like, Do you see anything on your side that is a turnkey, easy solution?
I don't know if I see like a turnkey, easy solution, but I do like where the city's going with tech. And when I think about it, like Langford is a very small community. So like the volume of applications they're getting compared to Vancouver, not the same. So that, like, I get that. Yeah. I like to think that we're somewhere in the middle where we're getting a high volume of applications, like quite a few now, even just on the mid to low density, as well as high density. Not as many as Vancouver, but enough to put pressure and stress on the city. Yep. But I think that really do think that Kelowna has done a good job overall of processing. There's always room for improvement. I think bringing tech in to help support sort of the lower level, the entry level to move things through will be helpful. Just getting clear on the OCP, I think that's been a struggle since the new OCP has been adopted. It feels like they've been quite hell-bent on sticking to every letter in that book and not being like, okay, well, we're willing to bend here because we recognize we need density, and we're not willing to bend here because just doesn't make sense in this location. So just trying to understand as a council and getting them working together with what their overall goals and objectives are will help, because the old council was quite good at that and they worked together a long time. They knew what their motivations were. And with the new council, it's just you're getting to know each other, right? And I think that's part of it. But tech will be a big part of helping support that. You can put 20 bodies in the seat, but it's going to cost more and take longer than AI. So we got to get with the times a little bit here.
Yeah. I talked about this before, but that the previous council adopts the OCP and then this council
has to deal
with it. Yeah. And now they're sticking right to it.
Yeah.
To me, it's just amazing.
I know, it's tough. Like, I don't envy the position that they're in. That's a tough position to be in. Like, they've just have this big book that they're like, okay, I guess we have to do this. And we don't really want to color outside of the line. Then we're setting precedent that whole document doesn't matter. So like, it's a tough position for them to be in.
It feels like for a mayor and council, like, is there anything more important for the city than the OCP? Like, it's got to be a top 3 or 5 things that you'll actually do. And this one just doesn't have any say. They just have to go with the one that already went.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's kind of, I don't know what I think about that. I just think it's all.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I agree with you, especially with there's so many unknowns and, like you think the mill site and all of that and like, okay, what are we going to do there? And like, what does this OCP mean for that? And like, does it support the overall growth of the city, like the plan? Like there's so many other factors into it that, I agree with you that it's tough for them to just have to adopt that holistically and not be able to have some leniency or have some discretion.
I can see you guys on council pretty soon. I think that's the turnkey solution.
I'm already getting my house egged now. I cannot.
Are you seriously? Oh, okay. Because it's Halloween. It's fine.
Yeah.
Also, what a waste of eggs, man. If it was avocados, you're living in a good neighborhood.
Yeah, don't worry about the toast.
No, I'm part of like the big bad developer group, right? Yeah. Like we're putting towers up. Like we're terrible people.
Yeah. Honestly, I was walking down, I think on Ellis the other day with my wife, and I was looking up. I'm like, man, our city is fucking beautiful.
It looks cool, right?
It is awesome. Like, no people don't like the towers, like some people do.
Yeah,
I love them.
I love it. I think it's great. And I think my favorite part of my job is I actually get a meaningful say in what that's going to look like. So like, while we're designing buildings, like I get a real meaningful say, because you think we're working with developers from Vancouver or Calgary and they know how to develop. They're sophisticated, but they don't necessarily know what we need here. So they really lean on me and my team for that. And that is like one of my favorite things I get to do is have a say, so that in 30 years when I'm walking down the street, like it's something that I can be proud of, that I helped them build a cool building, meaningful in whatever that capacity looks like. Right. So
I think that's honestly amazing. I think that's amazing.
That's pretty rewarding for sure. Especially being from here, right? Born and raised here. I get to help make a difference in whatever small way.
That's a great question you asked yourself. You should run this podcast. Like, why didn't we start with that? Like, what's the best part of your job? Damn, you suck at this, man.
We haven't commented that we asked nice questions.
You do ask good questions.
Yeah. Nice.
Right.
Thought provoking.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking about questions, you got anything else?
Yeah, I have one more. Okay. So you mentioned earlier, you think 12 to 14 months of these kind of higher interest rates, and then you think they're coming down, or you think we're just going to adjust? Like, what is the other thing?
I think they'll come down a little bit. I don't think we're going to see the days of, 2 to 3% anytime soon. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm sure you get asked that question a million times a day. I don't think that that's coming back anytime soon, but I will think that they will come down a little bit and then just stabilize. And I think that's the ask, right? Like the ask is just stabilize so that we can plan accordingly. So buyers can know what to expect. They know what their payments are going to be. Developers can run their pro formas and understand what their costs are going to be. Like, just stabilize.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I think for the next year, it's going to be like kind of where we're at. maybe a little less, but then it's going to get down to 3.5% to 4.5%. And if we can just stay in there, it's reasonable so that prices don't go crazy with these 0% or like 1% mortgages. But
it is interesting because a lot of economists have been saying similar. And I say the same thing, like, in 12 months, like we're projected to come down and, you read the big 5 bank top economists and everyone's projecting the same thing. And then 12 months goes by and we're still saying the same thing. But I still believe in it because like we are heading into a recession, like, GDP, like there are metrics that are pushing it that way. It's just if Bank of Canada is solely looking at inflation, which they are, then we're still out of that range. So they need to keep it at a higher rate. But I agree with you guys. I think it's going to come back down. I think in hindsight, the worst thing that caused all of this was that sub 2%, sub 3% range. We never should have gone there.
That's what caused all. You don't think it was the money injection? You think it was the interest rates?
Well, that is the money injection, though.
No, they're two different things.
Essentially, we were decreasing rates to hand out really cheap money.
Yeah, to increase more deals and more lending.
Yeah, like kind of goes hand in hand. Yeah. So it's hindsight. Like we should never have gone that low. Obviously, in that situation.
I think the hindsight, we should definitely not have stayed the low interest rates as well. Like, it's not even controversial.
Yeah. They should have come up faster and earlier. Yeah. But I do think they will come back down somewhere in that 4 to 5% range is healthy.
3.5
with that.
So you've got a mortgage up for renewal, so I'm going to go 3.5.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's the knee-jerk reactions too. That's right. Like, it's causing so much stress. It's the knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah, well,
nobody knows what to do.
Bank of Canada said that they specifically said they weren't raising the rates. So everyone, and then they went up, and then you have these things like where you're building these buildings, selling them as STRs, and then they change it before they're even done.
They are like kicking everyone when they're down a little bit by this stuff.
But we haven't even talked about the timing, like how like the market's down, and then you come in with this kind of odd also.
Yeah, that's like the rescission rule in resale, right? Like no more multiple offers were happening.
A little bit late to the game with that.
Slow on that one, guys. They're not rescinding. There's 17 other conditions they want to get through first.
Wake up on Monday morning after the vendor and be like, God, I have got the solution.
That's right. That's right. That's what it felt like.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up. If you could purchase one property in the Okanagan, what would it be in the next 12 months?
Well, I just purchased 2 short-term condos, so am I the one to ask this? No, you know what? I still really, really strongly believe in purchasing pre-construction. I would probably look for something closing longer. So a concrete opportunity, pre-construction, concrete opportunity that's got a longer closing date would be my go-to. And I would be open more now to Penticton than I would have been earlier. There's massive growth plans for Penticton.
Nice.
Huge.
I think Penticton is an underrated market here. Like you have 2 beautiful lakes. It feels like it just hasn't been served.
Yeah.
Like when you go to Vernon, you can kind of understand where it's at. But Penticton is like...
Yeah, you guys are hitting me on both sides.
I say, like, should I invest in Vernon or Penticton? I would say Penticton all day long. Like, Vernon doesn't really have the same appetite for growth that Penticton does.
And you guys have 2 nice lakes in Vernon. Like, obviously not counting Swan Lake, but you have like the 2
Okanagan.
But the city is like, I swear they picked on the point on the map, which was the farthest point away from both of them.
Yeah.
Right? They both take half an hour drive. Not half an hour, but like, they take a decent amount of drive to get there. Where Kelowna is built on the water. Penticton's built on 2 different lakes that are beautiful.
I agree. Here's my argument to it. And sorry, this is supposed to be like rapid fire questions. Totally. But
I messed that up.
Okay. So love Vernon. Great for tourism. Great for wineries.
I love Vernon.
Penticton. Great for tourism, wineries, but it's pretty far south. Vernon, at least it's kind of the gateway to the north in the sense of like Calgary, Kamloops. Like it still has industrial need. It still has long-term growth for rental businesses can operate there. Penticton, I find, is just a little too volatile in the long term. Like if I was going to open a business there, I'd choose Vernon over Penticton.
Interesting. I would think like the metrics are about 70% of the people purchasing our pre-construction are coming from Vancouver. So Penticton for them is a little bit closer.
Right. Okay. Good point.
Direct flight into Penticton to regional from Vancouver, as well as driving.
Yeah.
But Penticton's like appetite. There's a site that just got it through first stages and it's 1,500 condos by the hospital. Like that's the city of center of Penticton. Like they're going to totally change what that area looks like.
Yeah.
We're working on 2 buildings on Skaha side. We've got a site on the Okanagan side. They want that.
Yeah.
They're not seeing anything in Penticton. So I think that's going to drive more retail, more commercial. There's the South Okanagan Event Center there. There's the hospital. There's Okanagan College. Like there's already enough economic drivers to help support growth there. Whereas Vernon, I would argue, has less economic drivers.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Crushed me. I'm okay with that. We bought in Penticton, and I have property in Vernon, so I'm hedging my bets.
Now somebody who can get you in early, so you can be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I will say the last point to this, I think you should also check out, like you said, hospitals. You should check out hospitals before you buy in a city. I went to Penticton Hospital for an MRI last weweek. Amazing, really nice hospital. Really? Super quick. Got in there in a week.
Really?
Yeah, it was incredible.
There we go.
So
why'd you have to go to Penticton?
Kelowna's like 9 months.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Penticton's way faster.
Yeah. Well, the Vernon Hospital also was expanded the last few years, right?
Okay, so we're undecided, folks. We really are.
And I think the Kelowna Hospital is planning on like expanding quite far down to Ella, I think. In the long term.
Well, we need to
push those geese in.
Just for more uncertain advice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, Taylor, what's the best thing you've ever spent money on?
Real estate, easily.
Yeah, rental properties?
Both rental and again primary residences that I've turned into investments for other facets of real estate.
Yeah. I love it.
Best book or quote?
I would say it's okay to fail. It's not okay to quit. I have failed more times than I care to admit to. But I think one thing I've done well is I've just brushed myself off and kept going. Made a fool of myself, including here today. And I will continue to do this again.
That was our intention.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. I think honestly that is the key.
Yeah.
Right? You just...
Especially in our industry, like the failure rate, and probably similar in your industry as well too, is so high. People just quit. It gets hard and they quit.
Yeah. I
got licensed in the 2008 crash. I could not have been licensed at a worse time. And it was like, if I can figure it out now and, survive now, then I'm going to be fine when it's good.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I've been preaching to the new agents.
Totally.
I'm like, just get through this and you are golden.
And you're going to be fine.
Like, just get through this.
Do the hard stuff. Do the things that you don't want to do. Do the things that are uncomfortable and difficult. Do them over and over and over, and don't quit, and you'll be fine. You
can almost tell when you talk to somebody what their mindset is like. Comes out more in times like this.
Yeah,
right? Than it does.
For sure.
It's super easy to get everything done. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right. What is the best way us or our listeners can give you a hand, help you out at all?
I would say in the short term, have a voice with the short-term rental.
No pun intended, short term. Yeah.
In the short term, actually, think about what you can, contribute to that public hearing and have your voice heard and come up with some creative solutions. In the long term, just get curious about pre-construction. I feel like people aren't as educated on it in our city. It hasn't been as big of a thing here as in Vancouver or Toronto. So get curious about it. Learn about pre-construction. How can it help you build your portfolio and your own wealth? And what does that look like? Start visiting presentation centers, learn more about what's going on in the city, and get curious about it.
Yeah. I think one note there, like we had Shane Stiles on from Epic a couple months ago. And he highlighted a similar issue, like, hey, if you do have something you want to say, like be proactive about it. Go to these hearings before, speak with developers and council, like give your input. Like we are shaping the city right now. So get out there and speak to people like you who are
100%
doing that.
Yeah. And Shane's very much in the similar seat as me. And we're advising these developers on what to build and what the public needs, whether that's certain types of home or the retail that's going in the buildings, all of those things. So tell us what you need. We want to hear it. We want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And don't tell me you want free housing because I can't help you with that.
If you could, though, man, you would be busy.
Right?
Yeah.
Making those big commission checks on selling a free house.
Yeah.
I love it. It's been awesome. Talking to you, Taylor.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much.
This show was so much better having two Taylors.
Right?
Yeah.
Need a Matt?
Yeah, I don't think so.
The two T's?
Yeah, we're taking over. Yeah, true.
Matt's more common or Taylor's? I guess Taylor's can be.
Well,
yeah. Here we are. There you go. More uncertain advice.
We have doubled down on Matt's because we had Matt Gren.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
50-50 split at this point.
Yeah.
Riveting.
Yeah. Really good information here, guys.
So you did tell us we asked good questions.
Thanks for listening to the Kelowna Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to reach out and let us know how else we can add value to your Kelowna real estate journey. Please show some support by hitting the like, share, and subscribe button. This is sponsored by Matt Glenn Real Estate and Taylor at Venture Mortgages.